With the help of an inmate, Dr. Barworthy, who was a psychiatrist herself before she went insane, Kevin and Nestor administer cures to many of the asylum residents. Even Nurse Socket, whom Dr. Barworthy knew needed constant hugs herself, is calmed and reformed by being in a straitjacket for hours a day. The asylum's chaos is corrected, and Kevin must now get Nestor to the upper realm before Vincent Reeves intervenes. An hour later, Kevin and Nestor were sitting near the sunny, open window in Nurse Socket's office. With the hospital and the patient sorted, Kevin had been trying to talk Nestor into the necessary mental state to finally ascend to the upper realm, but Nestor just didn't seem to be able to do it. Finally, Nestor gave up in frustration. "I'm sorry, Kevin. I just can't do it. I keep having all these intrusive thoughts." "Maybe telling me about them will help," Kevin offered. Nestor frowned. "They're hard to put into words. It's more like a smell. Like the smell of gasoline." As soon as Nestor said the word, Kevin realized that he had been unconsciously smelling gasoline for the past few minutes. He glanced out the window to see the source and his eyes widened. Below them, Vincent Reeves had backed a tanker truck full of gasoline up to the doors of the asylum. He had attached the truck's long hose to a prosthetic clamp at the end of one arm. With this, he directed the spray of gasoline up and down and back and forth, completely coating the asylum facade. The door of Nurse Socket's office flew open, and Nurse Socket and Dr. Barworthy, the psychiatrist whom Kevin had cured of her delusions, ran into the room. "Did you see what's going on outside, Kevin?" Dr. Barworthy demanded. "It's the evil man again, just like in my vision," Nestor exclaimed. "Except he doesn't have chainsaws for hands anymore." "Vincent changes his prosthesis to whatever will help him the most," Kevin explained. "I've seen him have crossbows, tridents, machetes, hooks, egg beaters, all kinds of things." "But what's that on his other arm?" Nurse Socket pointed to Vincent's forearm. Kevin used his excellent vision to focus on the tiny device attached to Vincent's other stump. His eyes went wide in alarm. "It's a lighter." "Can't you do something? Can't you stop him?" Nestor wailed. "Vincent has never defeated me in battle yet," Kevin assured the boy. "But with that much gasoline around, it would only take a spark to set the whole asylum ablaze. There are far too many vulnerable people still inside for me to risk that. I need to find a way to neutralize the threat of fire before I face off against Vincent." "Yeah, sure," Nurse Socket wailed. "All we need is a really big fire extinguisher." Nestor's eyes suddenly went wide. Kevin saw the look and knew what it meant. "Is one of your visions suddenly making more sense to you?" Kevin asked the boy. "It is. Nurse Socket, you might have noticed that there was some recent mix-ups in the purchase orders for the asylum's supplies." Nurse Socket glared. "That's right. Some joker added a couple of extra zeros to the quantities of laundry supplies ordered for the asylum. I was quite put out by it. On the other hand, our whites have never looked whiter." She straightened her little starched cap, which was now back in place on her perfectly coiffed hair. "It was me," Nestor admitted. "I didn't know why I was doing it at the time, but the visions told me that I should, though I still don't know how they're going to help us now." "What laundry supplies are we talking about exactly?" Kevin wanted to know. "Borax powder and boric acid. The laundry is packed to the rafters with the stuff." Kevin smiled. "Nestor, your vision was exactly right." Dr. Barworthy and Nurse Socket gathered all the patients who were well enough to obey simple instructions and got them to the laundry. "Tell them to bring their straitjackets." Everyone rushed to the laundry. Word had spread throughout the asylum about the danger outside. Soon, patients, orderlies, Nestor, Dr. Barworthy, Nurse Socket, and Kevin were assembled in the laundry. Kevin directed the patients to tie the bottoms of their straitjackets together. Then he filled each straitjacket through the open neck hole with a mixture of the borax powder and boric acid in a 9-to-4 parts ratio. The arms of the straitjackets were then tied together, creating a long handle to carry the makeshift sacks. Everyone worked feverishly, aware of the danger outside. Kevin knew that Vincent had long ago given up on trying to bring the candidates to be gatekeeper of the White Tower in the upper realm over to his side, and had resorted to simply trying to kill them. As soon as Vincent was satisfied the asylum was truly soaked in gasoline, he'd fire off his lighter hand and the whole place would go up in a matter of minutes. At last, all of the straitjackets were full and everybody had been deployed to a post at a front window of the asylum. But for Kevin's plan to work, everybody had to act at the exact same moment. There was no way for everybody to be able to see Kevin if he was inside the building. Kevin would have to go out front where everyone could see him and confront his old enemy if his plan was going to work. Kevin marched out the front doors just as Vincent emptied the last of the gasoline onto the sidewalk. "Stop," Kevin commanded. "Vincent, how dare you even think of burning down a hospital full of innocent people suffering from mental illness? This is low even for you."
"You're too late, Kevin," Vincent crowed. "A single spark will set this place ablaze. I know your seventh candidate is still inside. Once he is dead, your chance to save the upper realm will be gone forever."
Vincent snapped out one arm and the lighter ignited at the end of it. Kevin hurried forward even though he knew it could provoke Vincent into action, but he had to be far enough in front of the asylum that everyone could see him. "I'm not going to let you do this, Vincent," Kevin promised as he dove for Vincent, channeling all his leveled abilities to make the move too fast for the human eye to see. But Vincent had levels of his own, although they were often glitchy and unreliable due to his many trips through the doorway of the damned in the lower realm. He saw Kevin coming and tried to get out of the way. Kevin stretched further and tackled Vincent, but Vincent too had reached as far as he could with the open flame at the end of his arm. As the two men hit the ground, Vincent's lighter came down in a pool of gasoline on the sidewalk. It immediately caught fire, and the flame raced up the sidewalk to the gasoline-soaked front of the asylum. In seconds, the entire place would be an inferno. Kevin jumped up and waved his arms wildly. "Now! Now! Now!" From every window in the asylum, patients held out their former straitjackets, which now acted like buckets as they upended them. White clouds of the mixture Kevin had concocted burst forth, coating the front of the brutalist building in white powder. It rained down on the puddles of gasoline just as the flame reached the building. The flame was immediately extinguished. The combination of borax powder and boric acid created a fire retardant that now coated the building and rendered the gasoline inert. Vincent howled in fury.
"You think you're so smart, seeing ahead of my plan and thwarting me like this?"
Kevin shrugged mildly. "I mean, what did you expect? You know that the seventh candidate is psychic, right? It's tough to get ahead with the plan when your enemy knows your every move. Surrender now, Vincent. You've lost. I have the seventh candidate, and surely from among the seven, the next keeper of the White Tower will be chosen. Then the upper realm will be secure forever, and you will have no way to bring it down."
"That's what you think, Kevin," Vincent sneered at his old enemy. "Your little pet psychic couldn't see everything everywhere all at once. Otherwise, he truly would be insane. It was just a matter of me having more plans in the works than he could follow. Then surely one of them was bound to succeed." Kevin threw his head back and laughed. "I've defeated you before, every time without the help of a psychic. I'm sure I can do it again." "Maybe you have, Kevin, and maybe you haven't."
Vincent refused to give Kevin any credit for all of his many successes.
"But I know some people that I'm sure haven't always defeated me. Here they are now."
Vincent gave a wave of his arm and a dozen buses with blacked-out windows came to a screeching halt before the asylum. Kevin had a sinking suspicion of who the buses contained. But the first two people off the lead bus left him utterly astonished. They were the two friends who had joined him throughout his quest to find the candidates to the next keeper of the White Tower. Brett Stewart, the leader of the freedom fighters known as the Myriads, and Katja Rafferty, the headmistress of the institution Kevin had founded in Washington, D.C., the Williams School. And they were both in handcuffs as prisoners of Vincent Reeves. Just as Kevin had won Nestor's trust and put the asylum in good hands, Vincent Reeves finally showed up. He had a tanker truck of gasoline and was spraying down the asylum with the flammable liquid. Kevin extinguished Vincent's hopes of burning down the asylum with Nestor inside. But Vincent had a backup plan: a dozen buses with Secluded Valley assassins and Brett and Katja as his prisoners. The yard in front of the asylum was full of blacked-out buses. Patients, orderlies, Nestor, the recently cured Dr. Barworthy, and Nurse Socket hung out the window staring. They had cheered when they thwarted Vincent's plans to burn down the asylum, but even they could see Kevin was outnumbered now as he faced down Vincent and a fleet of Secluded Valley assassins. Kevin had faced worse odds before, but this time Brett and Katja's lives were at stake. They were handcuffed and under heavy guard by more assassins. There was no margin for Kevin to make the slightest error. "Don't worry about us," Brett yelled to Kevin gallantly. "Just make sure that you get Nestor to safety." "Do it," Katja added. "Save the upper realm."
"Save the upper realm?" Vincent laughed. "Kevin won't even be able to save you two. He won't even be able to save himself." Vincent gave a wave of his hand, and Secluded Valley assassins poured from the dozen buses and ran for Kevin. They were masked figures armed to the teeth with an array of lethal weapons. "Get him!" one of the assailants shouted, his voice dripping with malice. With adrenaline coursing through his veins, Kevin knew he had to act fast if he wanted to rescue his friends, defeat Vincent, and get Nestor to the upper realm. Summoning every ounce of level power he possessed, Kevin leapt into action. Taking advantage of the chaos, Kevin lunged forward, disarming one of the attackers with a swift kick. In a flurry of movement, he incapacitated several more before leaping high in the air to the top of one of the buses. Always willing to fight smarter, Kevin knew the higher ground would give him an advantage. The Secluded Valley assassins tried to swarm the bus, lunging and leaping for it from all sides. Kevin fought in a blur of motion, sending out blasts of blue-leveled energy with one hand, while his other held his night dagger. The night dagger glowed as it slashed and stabbed at anybody who got past Kevin's initial defenses. "We've got to get him down from there," one of the assassins directed his fellows. Instead of trying to engage Kevin in a fight on top of the bus, the assassins surrounded the bulky vehicle and began to rock it back and forth, attempting to overturn it. Kevin rode the rocking bus easily, but the assassins had momentum on their side. Kevin timed his leap perfectly and landed on the next bus as the first one crashed to its side. Kevin immediately skipped off the bus and turned to face it. He threw his arms wide, unleashing a powerful blast of blue-leveled energy directly at the bus. It flew forward, crashing into the bus Kevin had just left. Dozens of assassins were crushed between the two buses like grapes in a wine press. But Kevin couldn't stop to enjoy his success. There was still over 100 assassins coming for him, and Brett and Katja were still in mortal danger. Kevin knew the quickest way to even the odds was to free Brett and Katja. Both of them were skilled, leveled fighters. They were under guard by a group of the most advanced assassins. Kevin sprinted from bus top to bus top, pursued by the other assassins. As he neared the group guarding Brett and Katja, Kevin leapt high into the air and came down hard, smashing a fist into the ground. A wave of blue-leveled light shot out from his fist. It raced across the grass and slammed into the assassins, taking them out at the knees. Katja immediately headbutted one of the few assassins left on his feet and knocked him to the ground. With Brett's help, she incapacitated the assassin and took the handcuff keys from him. Within seconds, Brett and Katja were free and joining the battle. The remaining assassins scrambled to regroup as Kevin launched himself back into the fray. Moving too fast for the human eye to follow, he incapacitated one foe after another. His fists and feet moving with deadly precision, level energy bursting from him in concentrated pulses that left carnage in its wake. But the assassins were only one part of Vincent's plan. Through the cacophony of battle, Kevin's acute hearing picked up on a tiny voice calling for help. He spun around to see two assassins dragging Nestor from the asylum. Patients, orderlies, the recently cured Dr. Barworthy, and Nurse Socket all tried to stop the Secluded Valley assassins, but they were no match for the trained killers. Vincent raced to Nestor. On one arm, he had a prosthesis with a butane lighter. The other hand was a clamp that he had used to control the hose spewing gasoline all over the asylum. Vincent shot out an arm and the clamp encircled Nestor's neck. "I've got you now,"
Vincent cheered, sure that victory was at his hand, or rather at his prosthesis. The clamp automatically contracted, and for a moment Kevin was sure Nestor's neck would be crushed. However, Nestor was only a 14-year-old boy and small for his age. The clamp was too large to choke Nestor to death. Even at its smallest, it was only uncomfortably tight.
"No matter," Vincent declared. "There's more than one way to murder a future seeing medium."
His other arm shot out and the lighter at the end of it flicked on. As Nestor's eyes went wide, the flame increased from a candle to a blowtorch. Kevin raced to cover the ground between him and Vincent. He desperately wanted to shout a warning to Nestor, but he couldn't resist alerting Vincent to his approach. He'd just have to hope that Nestor, with his psychic abilities, would do his thing. Nestor's eye suddenly rolled up in his head, and a faint blue aura surrounded his body. Vincent's eyes went wide.
"What are you doing?" he demanded. "None of your seer tricks. Stop it right now."
He gave Nestor a hard shake by the neck. Nestor's eyes suddenly flew open and he stared directly into Vincent's own eyes. "You've already lost more than you know," the psychic boy informed Vincent.
"What does that mean?"
Vincent snarled. But even as he spoke, Nestor let his legs go limp. The unexpected weight dragged Vincent's arms down, where it met Kevin's night dagger as he slashed it upwards. The dagger bit deep into the flesh of Vincent's stump. It cut through muscle and bone, easily severing the prosthetic clamp from Vincent's body. Vincent howled in pain and clutched the bleeding end of his arm. Kevin whisked the boy to safety as Brett and Katja came running up. "Get him inside. Get them all inside," Kevin urged, knowing that Vincent was more dangerous than ever. Everyone ran for the asylum's doors as Kevin spun to face his old enemy, only to be hit full in the face by a powerful blast of Vincent's leveled energy. Without time to get a shield up to block the blast, Kevin went flying dozens of feet through the air and smashed into one of the few buses that remained upright on its wheels. He slumped to the ground. Vincent stomped up to him, rage and erratic leveled energy bursting off of him in uncontrollable waves. Even the secluded valley assassins backed off, unwilling to be caught in the crossfire of such a powerful leveled battle.
"You will not defeat me," Vincent declared. "You cannot defeat me," he roared.
Another blast of energy lifted Kevin up and sent him flying through the bus's windshield. Kevin landed sprawled in the driver's seat, surrounded by broken glass and twisted metal.
"I've sacrificed too much,"
Vincent continued, waving his stumps, one now significantly shorter than the other.
"I will bring down the upper realm and with it all of the Foundation, and it will all be your fault. This is the end of you, Kevin Williams."
Vincent tried to unleash another blast of leveled energy at Kevin, but nothing happened. Vincent's erratic levels had failed him at this moment. He reached inside himself again, desperately scrabbling to reorder his powers. But the pause was all of the advantage that Kevin needed. In agony from Vincent's blast, Kevin knew he would have trouble controlling his own powers. Instead, he used the power he was sitting on top of. Kevin shoved the bus into gear and slammed his foot on the accelerator. The powerful bus leapt forward. 40,000 pounds driven by 500 horsepower bore down on Vincent, who was still trying to gather his energies. Vincent launched a few underpowered blasts at Kevin, who deflected them easily. Kevin wedged the accelerator down and then jumped free from the racing bus. Vincent's eyes went wide, realizing too late that he should have run or dodged out of its way when he had had the chance.
"Oh, shit."
The bus slammed into Vincent, pasting him to its front like a bug on a windshield. Then the bus slammed into the front of the asylum. The force of the collision was enough to shake the stark, solid building to its foundations. Kevin stumbled to his feet from where he had landed in the grass. He swayed back and forth, but he was ready to take on the next wave of assassins. The wave didn't come. The secluded valley assassins had seen their employer apparently crushed into a paste between the building and the bus. They had no desire to continue a fight they couldn't win and had melted away into the surrounding countryside. Kevin heard cheers coming from the people inside the asylum and realized the fight really was over. Relieved, He collapsed to the ground. Vincent Reeves finally showed up as Kevin expected to try to kidnap or kill the final candidate to become the keeper of the White Tower in the Upper Realm, Psychic Nestor. With Brett and Katja as hostages, Vincent prepared to burn the asylum down with everyone trapped inside. Kevin thwarted the arson attempt, freed Brett and Katja, defeated 200 secluded valley assassins, and smashed Vincent between a bus and a building. Katja helped Kevin swallow a few recovery pills after his protracted battle with the secluded valley assassins and his enemy Vincent Reeves. During the battle, Kevin had taken several powerful blasts from Vincent's leveled energy, as erratic as it was. However, with the help of the recovery pills, Kevin felt back to normal quickly. He put Brett in charge of mopping up the assassins who were too incapacitated to follow their friends in escaping.
But what do we do about that?
Nurse Socket asked, eyeing the bus that Kevin had crashed into the front of the asylum that she had once had complete authority over. "I'll make arrangements to have it towed away and the building repaired," Kevin promised. He did not mention any plans for the body of Vincent Reeves. Kevin knew Vincent had escaped from more near misses than a cat with 9 lives squared. Honestly, Kevin would be surprised if they found Vincent anywhere in the twisted wreckage of the bus, but one could hope. The important thing now was for Kevin to get Nestor to the Upper Realm. This would complete Kevin's mission of assembling all 7 candidates to be the next keeper of the White Tower of the Upper Realm. They found a comfortable room in the rear of the asylum, one that did not overlook the carnage and commotion out front. "Do you think that you will be able to achieve the correct state of mind to ascend to the Upper Realm now?" Kevin asked the young psychic boy. Nestor considered the question, reaching within himself for any more feelings of impending doom. "I don't think I'll have a problem this time, Kevin. I'm not getting a strong sense of anything bad in the near future." "As you know, the Upper Realm isn't a physical place," Kevin went on to explain. "It's actually a plane of consciousness. In order to enter the realm, you must achieve the correct mental state, one that resonates with the same frequency as the Upper Realm itself." Kevin had first reached the Upper Realm by repeated viewings of an antique film by the Lumiere brothers. Watching it had allowed him to relive his memories of past triumphs and moments of great love and beauty, most poignantly the moment he had first met his darling wife, Lily. Kevin knew he could now recreate that state of consciousness by using only his mind. He didn't need any film or props in order to draw upon his happiest thoughts. But Kevin also knew that everybody's path to the Upper Realm was different. The methods and memories that worked for him wouldn't necessarily work for Nestor. Like with the other candidates, Kevin counted on the fact that he was a potential keeper of the Upper Realm. Once Nestor focused his mind, his natural levels could take him the rest of the way there. Kevin finished giving Nestor instructions. Nestor nodded, closed his eyes, and leaned back in his chair. Almost immediately, a faint blue glow surrounded the boy, and then all at once, he vanished. Kevin smiled to himself. He leaned back in his own chair, closed his eyes, and thought his own happy thoughts of his future children and his darling wife, Lily. Always before, Kevin had entered the Upper Realm by crashing down into a lily pond. The Upper Realm, it seemed, had a rather literal sense of humor. However, this time, Kevin felt himself land on a springy and dry surface. When he opened his eyes, he realized he was in a patch of lush grass. Just beside him, Nestor was sitting up and looking around. "Cool," he exclaimed. "Very cool," Kevin agreed. A short time later, Kevin had all of the candidates to be the next keeper of the White Tower of the Upper Realm assembled in the yard in front of the tower. There was Pamela, a 17-year-old girl from Sri Lanka. Her particular leveled abilities made her an incredible fighter. She was the only one of the candidates that Vincent Reeves had briefly convinced to join his side, promising to help her poor and ailing parents. But Kevin had interfered, saving Pamela's parents and convincing her to join his side. Next was Walter, the gaming prodigy whose parents had moved their family off the grid. Walter had established his own high-tech treehouse from which he ran a gaming empire. After Vincent had tried to kill Walter, Walter had a difficult time finding the happy thoughts and memories that would get him to the Upper Realm, He had wound up in the lower realm and was in danger of Vincent's plots again. Kevin and Pamela had risked a trip to the lower plane of consciousness to save the boy and finally bring him into the upper realm. Kevin had discovered the third candidate, Angel Bebe, right in Chicago. Angel was the stepchild of an exploitive mommy social media influencer and spent all her time as the subject of her stepmother's posts and videos. Although Mama Bebe constantly pushed Angel into performing arts, Kevin discovered Angel was actually a gifted writer, which was her leveled ability. Candidate number 4 was also in his late teens. Majid was a native of the Maldives and had used his leveled abilities to control the tides and weather to protect his little community from the ravages of rising ocean levels. But his ability had made his community the target of a greedy hotel developer who wanted the precious dry land for her luxury hotels. Kevin had the hotelier arrested and gifted her super yacht to Majid's community so they could survive and thrive without him to hold back the seas. At first, Kevin had thought the 5th candidate's leveled power was linked to his prowess at the game of chess. However, it turned out Pembroke Rindollar's true ability was as a relationship expert. His status as a chess phenom was only due to his overachieving helicopter parents' drive to ensure their child was exceptional. Vincent had poisoned Pembroke during an important chess match. Kevin had used the 10 directions, a leveled ability that enabled Kevin to stop time for brief periods to save Pembroke's life. He was the youngest of the candidates at only 9 years of age. With her leveled ability to inspire and bring people together, it was no surprise that the 6th candidate, Evita, had been elected mayor of her small town in Tierra del Fuego, even though she was still a teenager. Kevin, with help from Brett and Katja, had helped Evita heal divisions in her community and solve the mystery of cattle rustling that had plagued the area. Here, too, Vincent had attacked in another desperate attempt to thwart Kevin's mission, but Kevin and his friends had once again saved the day. Finally, there was Nestor, the 7th and final candidate. He had been the most difficult candidate to locate because no one had taken his psychic vision seriously. In fact, he had been mistaken for an insane child and sent to an asylum run by the ruthless but well-meaning Nurse Socket. Kevin had posed as a patient in order to get access to Nestor and win his trust. Once they were all assembled, Kevin and his friend, the amiable Yeti, looked over the group. They were an unlikely mix of backgrounds, abilities, and nationalities, yet somehow this felt right to Kevin. The Yeti felt the same way.
You have done well, Kevin. This was a difficult and dangerous mission even at the best of times.
I just hope I didn't take too long. Even now, Elohi's strength wanes. Kevin looked up at the tall white tower to the room where he knew Elohi was waiting for them. Is there still time for all of the candidates to be tested to find out who will be the next keeper before? Kevin let his voice trail off, not wanting to say it aloud and possibly jinx them.
Before Elohi dies for good?
The Yeti finished. Yetis were not superstitious.
There's only one way to find out, she decided.
Kevin nodded and waved for the children to follow him. They did it silently, the older ones automatically helping the younger ones. Kevin led them up the long, winding staircase inside the tower to the room at the top. Kevin was relieved to see Elohi was still alive, though she was now so weak she could barely turn her head on the pillow. She looked over the candidates with a gentle smile. Kevin, you have returned and succeeded in your mission. Excellent work. Now all that remains is for the arenas to be prepared and for the candidates to be tested. Kevin had succeeded in getting the 7th candidate to be the new keeper of the White Tower in the Upper Realm, Nestor, a psychic and seer from New Zealand, safely away from Vincent Reeves and into the Upper Realm itself, where Elohi, ailing but still alive, would prepare the arena and the tests for the candidate to see who was the rightful inheritor of her position. Knowing that Elohi's health compromised when Vincent Reeves forced an interloper, Gwen Archer, into the Upper Realm, which created chaos and tumult, was precarious at best, worried Kevin. He had worked diligently with his colleagues, Brett Stewart and Katja Rafferty, to span the globe to find the 7 candidates as quickly as possible. But now more work had to be done by failing Alohi herself to prepare for the contest. Though worried, Kevin was assured by the Yeti and by the young candidates themselves, who were immediately devoted to benevolent Alohi and intent on making sure she survived through the end of the process, that he could take leave of the upper realm during those final preparations. Always knowing that his adventures took him away from the most important element in his life, his marriage to beloved Lily and the impending birth of their twins, Kevin left the upper realm until he learned that the contest was nigh, and he arrived back in the mayor's mansion and in the plane of existence as if no time had passed. The upper realm existed in an alternate expanse of time that enabled Kevin to be there without Lily, and especially his mother-in-law Dorothy, feeling as though he was being inattentive to his duties at home. Kevin's dutiful presence didn't stop Dorothy from pointing out that Lily had, indeed, recently been in danger when she was kidnapped by Sunny Mangolia and thrown into Hank the dog's basement cage, where Sunny tortured her and threatened to kill her to avenge Lily's supposed murder of Sunny's brother Sid. But that Dorothy was also away when that event took place, and because Lily, it turned out, was more than capable of taking care of a situation as dangerous and potentially deadly as this all by herself, had for once led Dorothy to keep quiet and not to berate Kevin for leading Lily into danger. Lily's own duties kept her plate full. She had won the hearts of her constituents to an even greater degree when she resolved the embezzlement scandal that had rocked her mayoral administration. Underling Ruby Kincaid, another pawn of Juanita Hernandez, had channeled money into the administrations of sports teams that were arch rivals of Chicago's own Bears and White Sox. And she was on firm footing with her job, though she knew the work of a mayor of a large city could never rest on her laurels. Lily sat inside her women's clinic, looking over the books, making sure everything was running smoothly. The clinic hummed with activity as women and children entered and exited with grateful smiles. 8 months pregnant with Kevin's twins, Lily enjoyed stopping by for quick visits to see all the good that the clinic was doing for the less fortunate people of Chicago. It reminded her of what the foundation of her role as mayor was, helping those less fortunate to find a foothold and build better lives in the city she loved. Just then, a mother and her young daughter approached. "Mayor Williams," the mother inquired, "I was wondering if my daughter could shake your hand. She's a big fan." "Of course," Lily replied. The bashful young girl stepped over and waved sheepishly, embarrassed. "Hi there, kiddo," Lily greeted the little girl. "What's your name?" "Adelie," the girl replied, hiding behind her mother's leg. "Adelie," Lily repeated. "What a beautiful name." "She loves you, and Chicago," the mother offered. "She wants to be Lady Mayor someday, too." "Is that right?" Lily fawned playfully. "What's your favorite thing about Chicago?" "I like the pizza and the buildings," the little girl ran down her list. "And she's incredibly excited for the World's Fair," the mother chimed in. "The World's Fair?" Lily repeated curiously. "Oh, I apologize. I assumed that was something you were responsible for," the mother admitted. "They had all those commercials and billboards last year. The Chicago World's Fair coming soon. Does your office not handle all of that?" It was a good question, Lily wondered herself. She replied with a smile. "Nice to meet you both." Lily had only been mayor for a short time after the former mayor, Christopher Walsh, had fled the country amid a growing scandal. A scandal that had been exposed by Kevin. Lily had been so wrapped up in getting elected that she had yet to fully learn all the duties that were now expected of her. Curious about the World's Fair, Lily retreated back to her office at City Hall where Rachel, Lily's longtime best friend and now her main political operative, sat waiting. Lily had called her from the clinic to assign her the task of finding out about the World's Fair. "So there's good news and bad news," Rachel offered. "Give me the bad news first, please," Lily decided. "Well, looking at Mayor Walsh's old files, there is a World's Fair planned for Chicago this year," Rachel explained. and the mayor's office is responsible for handling all of it. Lily sighed. I wish there had been a more transparent transfer of power and responsibilities. I don't mind doing the work that comes with being mayor of Chicago. I just wish Mayor Walsh had left more information behind so that things like this didn't keep popping up as surprises. I just want to do the best job possible. Rachel nodded. I know you do, Lily, and that's why I want to give you the good news, too. Please, Lily replied playfully. The good news is that the World's Fair represents a unique opportunity for the city of Chicago, Rachel offered. It'll be a lot of work, but the World's Fair can be a celebration of innovation and progress. People from all walks of life will come together to witness the marvels of their Chicago community and beyond and see all the possibilities for the future. It's a chance to bring some real joy and excitement to the city, and I know that's what you care about most. The sentiment hit Lily hard. She sat up in her chair, suddenly excited by the possibilities. You're right, Rachel. This could be really special. And Mayor Walsh already started the process, Rachel continued. Over a dozen unique venues with exciting exhibits have already been purchased. Money has been set aside in the budget. Things are already in the works. Lily's excitement grew. I want it to be memorable, not just for its technological wonders, but also for the sense of unity and pride it instills in the community. Rachel agreed. Absolutely, Mayor Williams. We can highlight the city's strengths, its cultural richness, and the indomitable spirit of its people. The fair is a canvas, and we have the opportunity to paint a vibrant picture. As the planning discussions continued, Lily became more determined to make the World's Fair a momentous success. Her pregnancy, rather than hindering her, fueled a sense of responsibility to create a legacy for the city's future generations. We could keep talking about this all day, Lily finally noted. But I want to get started. First things first. I better go take a look at the venues Mayor Walsh already purchased for the event. Lily stood while Rachel remained seated. I'll stay here and start going through all the options we have for additional entertainment, food, and exhibitions. Once I have a better sense of everything, we can have another meeting. Perfect. Lily headed for the exit. This is going to be great. Kevin met up with Lily at the house. My love, how was work? Kevin asked as he gave his wife a warm hug. Still going, Lily replied. I need to go check out some exhibit venues. Want to come with me? Kevin smiled and nodded enthusiastically. When would he not want to spend time with his adored wife? I'll drive. As Lily, accompanied by Kevin, embarked on a tour of the World's Fair venues, the excitement of the grand event was overshadowed by a puzzling discovery. The first venue, initially presenting an impressive facade, concealed a disheartening reality. It was an empty space with nothing but dirt floors. No, Lily gasped. This is all wrong. Kevin looked around the empty venue. This is just an empty warehouse. What was this supposed to be? Lily looked over her packet of information. An exhibit hall focusing on the future of modern flight in America. Kevin nodded. Yeah, this is definitely not that. But don't stress, my love. Maybe they just haven't started building this one exhibit yet. Let's go check out the rest. Lily took a deep breath and let Kevin lead the way. The World's Fair, a grand event, was supposed to showcase technological wonders, breathtaking exhibits, and the spirit of innovation that Chicago held dear. However, as they ventured from one venue to another, the reality revealed itself. A series of empty arenas, or worse, mere facades leading to old dirt parking lots or landfills. Their next stop was something called the Great Innovation Cube. The exterior was adorned with metallic panels and flashing lights, promising a glimpse into the future of technology. This looks like it might be a little bit better, Kevin offered optimistically. Lily's eyes sparkled with anticipation, but as they entered, the grandeur faded. The large cube was empty, and the echoes of their footsteps resonated against the hollow structure. Lily's initial enthusiasm deflated, replaced by a furrowed brow. This can't be right. Where are the cutting-edge innovations? Where's everything Mayor Walsh already paid for? Kevin took Lily's hand in a comforting fashion. Let's not give up hope just yet. What's next on the list? The duo next made their way to the Artistry Pavilion. A stunning facade showcased vibrant murals, and the air was filled with the promise of artistic wonders. Lily envisioned a celebration of creativity and culture. "Now this," Lily exclaimed, "this is what I was hoping for." Yet upon entering, the pavilion revealed nothing but bare walls and a lingering sense of missed opportunity. Lily muttered to herself with growing disappointment. "Empty canvases where masterpieces should be. This is no good." They next hurried over to the culinary extravaganza hall. The tantalizing aroma of diverse cuisines wafted from the facade, promising a culinary journey through Chicago's rich food culture. As they stepped inside, however, the hall remained eerily quiet with empty stalls and abandoned cooking stations. "This doesn't make sense," Lily noted. "We smelled all the food from outside." Kevin spotted something against the wall. Candles. Scented candles and fans. A row of lit scented candles and fans waited in the back. Kevin's eyes narrowed. This isn't an accident. Someone's going out of their way to make us think there's more inside these empty venues than there actually is. This is deliberate fraud. "It's Mayor Walsh," Lily replied. "You were the one who caught him in the last scandal. I guess he was working on his next gigantic fraud when he finally had to flee. And now I have to deal with it." With Lily's frustration growing, the duo next made their way across town to the final venue, the Innovation Playground. An exterior of colorful playground structures and interactive displays hinted at a haven for families and children. But the reality was stark. Empty swings swung silently and interactive screens displayed nothing. With each unveiled facade, Lily's excitement transformed into disappointment. Just then, Kevin spotted a single Innovation Playground employee, an old man, sitting in a chair out back reading a book. Determined to unravel the mystery, Kevin approached the old man. "Excuse me, can you explain why this venue is empty?" Lily cut in. "We were promised a spectacular showcase of innovations." The employee shifted uncomfortably before responding.
"Mayor Williams, I don't know what to tell you. I was just paid to sit here and make sure no one steals nothing."
"There's nothing here to steal," Lily exclaimed. Lily's frustration simmered as she absorbed the reality of the situation. She turned to Kevin. "This is bad, but I can't lose hope. We need to find solutions, rally support, and salvage what we can. Chicago deserves a memorable World's Fair." Kevin wrapped his arm around his wife in a comforting fashion. "It'll be all right. We'll make it great. I guarantee it." Lily knew Kevin was right. The newfound determination replaced her earlier disappointment. With a renewed sense of purpose, Lily and Kevin set off together, determined to make the Chicago's World Fair an event that would go down in history. After discovering that former Mayor Christopher Walsh had promoted the upcoming Chicago's World's Fair without doing any of the necessary planning, Lily, with help of her fearless husband Kevin, decided to take matters into her own hands and handle the planning herself, and help Chicago avoid an embarrassing scandal. Lily and Kevin returned home to the mayor's mansion. "How do we want to attack this?" Kevin asked, ready to help his beautiful wife in any way that he could. "We don't have much time," Lily responded. "If you can track down who Mayor Walsh was paying for these empty venues, I'll work on finding actual attractions we can use to fill the space." "Sounds like a plan." Kevin kissed his wife and headed off to start his investigation. Lily, fueled by her inner determination and a deep sense of responsibility to the city that now called her mayor, decided to confront the World's Fair crisis head-on. With the fair just a few months away, the reality of the empty venues and absent exhibits had to be addressed urgently. She summoned Rachel to her office, ready to get to work. As Rachel entered, Lily met her friend and former campaign manager turned crucial political advisor with a warm smile. "Rachel, we need to get to the bottom of this World's Fair disaster. There was nothing in those venues, and I can't afford to let Chicago down." "Nothing?" Rachel clenched her jaw, absorbing the gravity of the situation. "There's absolutely nothing secured for the fair thus far? That can't be an oversight. It's as if someone deliberately left us with an empty canvas." Lily nodded, sensing Rachel's frustration. Mayor Walsh wasn't the most reputable politician. Rachel sighed. That's very true. Lily nodded in agreement and continued thinking out loud. It could be that Kevin only exposed the tip of the iceberg when he found out that Mayor Walsh was connected to polluting the Chicago River and allowing Quentin Covington to test his growth hormone drugs on Walsh's farm. I've asked Kevin to look into any information we have on contracts signed and payments made for those phony exhibits that we've now turned up. He'll figure out who Mayor Walsh was funneling the city's money to. I think Walsh and his girlfriend fled to a tropical island, but they were naive to think that Kevin wouldn't expose any of their own illegal schemes.
Mayor Walsh could have ruined this city,
Rachel exclaimed. He could have, Lily concurred. We have Kevin on the case of some of Walsh's dirty deeds, but we need to take care of the rest. Rachel sighed. The fair is scheduled to start soon. This is a nightmare. We'll have to start from scratch, Lily explained. But if we act fast, I think we can salvage the Chicago World's Fair from what could have been a catastrophe.
I'm with you, Mayor Lily, Rachel replied. So what do we do first?
Lily leaned forward, a fire now burning in her eyes. I know you already started research on this, but I want to see everything you have on potential vendors, exhibits, and attractions. I want to contact every reputable source, and let's see who's willing to jump on board the Chicago World's Fair express train. Rachel pulled out her notebook and started scribbling notes to herself. Rachel's commitment matched Lily's. I'll start making calls, reaching out to potential contributors and gathering ideas. We'll turn this around. Absolutely, Lily agreed. Operation Save the World's Fair has commenced. As Rachel left to initiate Operation Save the World's Fair, Lily pondered the challenges ahead. The World's Fair, initially promising excitement for the city, had turned into a daunting task. But Lily was determined to make it work, and with a resilient team in Kevin and Rachel, she knew she could pull it off in time. Lily was ready to transform those empty venues into something spectacular. At the same time, on the other side of town, Kevin went to work on his investigation. Fueled by the urgency to uncover the truth behind the missing World's Fair's funds and why the venues were nothing more than facades, Kevin enlisted his trusted allies Sasha and Olivia Rafferty to help him perform a deep dive into the financial mysteries of the event. The war room, adorned with large flat-screen TVs broadcasting news from around the world, served as their headquarters for this crucial mission. With a stern expression, Kevin addressed Sasha and Olivia. Sasha had been one of the competitors in the epic clash who helped Kevin in one of the quests, and though Sasha went out early and thus lost his levels, Kevin had taken the youngster under his wing, given him a job at his pharmaceutical lab, and was helping him through many adventures to gain confidence and experience while also starting on his leveling journey again. Olivia was Kevin's longtime friend and peer. They had met when Kevin arrived in Washington to compete in the Herbalist Society's biggest competition. The two went from friends to competitors to form a mutual admiration society. Their bond was true and had even survived Olivia's family's attempt to undermine Kevin many times. Kevin didn't waste time in telling his underlings their latest mission. We need to follow the money trail and find out who's been taking money from the World's Fair construction funds and leaving the city with nothing but empty buildings. Let's get to the bottom of this. A few hours later, the trio began meticulously sifting through thick financial records and contracts, seeking any trace of where the funds that should have been used to build and outfit the World's Fair's venues had actually gone. As they delved deeper, Sasha's sharp eyes caught a pattern in the transactions. Look at this! He pointed to a series of payments to a construction company. It seems like a significant chunk of the funds went to this one particular company. Kevin, intrigued by the discovery, scrutinized the company's details. The Do the Right Thing Construction Company? Never heard of them, Olivia noted. These records indicate they only ever did business with Mayor Walsh, Sasha offered. Kevin nodded. That's not a great sign, but we need more information. Where is the headquarters of this Do the Right Thing construction company? Utilizing their investigative skills, they traced the company's address, hoping for a breakthrough. "Downtown Chicago," Olivia offered. "Clark Street." "Clark Street," Kevin murmured while he considered their options. "I think it's time we go pay them a visit." Olivia and Sasha both grinned. They agreed. Their journey led the trio to a seemingly ordinary laundromat. Sasha and Olivia exchanged puzzled glances. Kevin, always resourceful, suggested, "Maybe it's just a front, a clever disguise. Let's go in and see if there's more to this laundromat than meets the eye." As they entered, the familiar hum of washing machines and the scent of detergent filled the air. The group, now acting as undercover investigators, discreetly observed their surroundings, searching for any signs of the construction company or for anything sinister or suspicious. The World's Fair mystery was becoming more complex by the minute, but Kevin was determined to unravel the truth hidden behind the operation. Meanwhile, in a small back room of the seemingly innocent laundromat, a private meeting was taking place. The air was thick with tension as a group of tough Chicago mobsters gathered around their leader, the formidable Alma Capone, affectionately known as Ma. Ma Capone, an older, gritty-looking woman with an air of authority that demanded respect, addressed her assembled goons with a stern expression.
"Listen up, all of you. I got some news, and it ain't good."
The mobsters, rugged and loyal to Ma, leaned in to catch every word. Ma continued.
"Our cozy arrangement with Mayor Walsh is hit a snag. Someone's been going around our empty venues asking questions we don't want answered."
Murmurs of discontent and frustration rippled through the room. The mobsters exchanged wary glances, realizing that the source of their illicit income was in jeopardy. Ma Capone's eyes narrowed, her gaze scanning the room.
"We got a problem, and that problem's name is Lily Williams. Mayor Lily Williams. We don't want her digging into our arrangements with former Mayor Walsh."
One of the mobsters spoke up.
"So what are we gonna do about it, Ma?"
Ma Capone cracked her knuckles, her voice low and intense.
"We're gonna make sure Mayor Williams understands that we ain't to be trifled with. The days of Christopher Walsh were good for business. We're gonna bring those days back, one way or another."
The atmosphere in the room grew more charged with an unspoken understanding among the mobsters that action needed to be taken to protect their interests. Ma Capone, a formidable figure with a deep-rooted connection to Chicago's underworld, expected results. Lily, unaware of the growing threat, was about to face a formidable adversary from the city's dark past. The struggle for Chicago's soul continued, and Ma Capone had no intention of relinquishing her grip on its underbelly.
"I want to know what's going on in that mayor's office," Ma noted. "We need to be able to stay one step ahead of this new problem."
Just then, there was a knock at the door. The laundromat's back room was filled with tension as the mobsters exchanged worried glances, realizing that an unexpected visitor had arrived.
"I was never here,"
Alma Capone, the elusive leader, said as she slipped away quietly through the back exit, leaving her goons to handle the situation. With Ma clear, the mobsters put their hands on their hidden weapons and opened the door. Kevin, Sasha, and Olivia stood confidently on the other side, their eyes assessing the room and the intimidating figures before them. Unfazed by the goons' threatening gestures, Kevin stepped forward. "Excuse me," Kevin said, his voice calm but assertive. "Is this the Do the Right Thing construction company?" The goons exchanged smirks and dismissive glances.
"Do we look like construction workers to you, Mr. Dockers?"
One of them scoffed.
"Yeah, get lost, Captain Keds,"
another goon joked. They all laughed. Ignoring the mockery, Kevin continued. "I need to speak to someone in charge. Mayor Williams has some questions about a handful of construction projects that were contracted to the Do the Right Thing construction company. The projects were all around the city." The goons burst into laughter, pounding their fists on the table.
"You're in the wrong place, buddy. Get lost before you find yourself in some real trouble."
Kevin's eyes caught sight of a familiar picture on the wall, a dartboard adorned with a photograph of his wife, Mayor Lily Williams. Anger surged within Kevin as he tore down the picture, drawing the attention of the goons.
"Hey," one of them snarled, "that's our dartboard. Who do you think you are?"
Kevin's hand balled into fists. "Who am I? I'm Mayor Williams's husband." The room fell silent for a moment as the goons processed this revelation. The atmosphere shifted and Kevin stood his ground, ready to confront the corruption that lurked within the laundromat. The battle between the forces of justice and the criminal underbelly of Chicago was about to explode.